Hello, everyone. Welcome to Indie Game Club. We're super excited to have you all here with us this week, whether you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. We really appreciate you. As you know, Indie Game Club, we describe it, we say it's like a book club, but for indie games. Every week we gather together and play a handful of different indie games and discuss them. And we love, talking about that with you all in the audience. So make sure if you're in the chat, as you see there, throw those questions, comments, concerns, life advice, whatever you want from us. Let us know in the chat for sure. As always, I'm joined by an amazing panel. We have a special treat this week that I'll get to momentarily that I'm super excited about. But my name is Michael Zhitkov. I'm the founder and executive director of Potions and Pixels nonprofit. Definitely check out our website, check out the work we do. We do everything from workforce development projects to youth programs to game development. Our whole mission is to utilize games to create social impact. So definitely check us out at potionsandpixels.com and all the social media websites. Smash that bell, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We really appreciate that. As I said, we got a special treat this week. As you can see, we're joined, as we always are, by an awesome group of individuals. But we are joined today by local game developer Nate Besner. Nate, can you give a... There we go. Thank you. Nate is... the head of Punch Bunny Games here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he's got two games, Tangol and Meteoroids, that we are going to be discussing. In fact, those are going to be the first two games that we're going to discuss. So as we do as tradition on this show, we do a little brief introduction and tell folks where they can find you. Nate, you want to do the honors? If you can tell us, I'd actually love to hear, how you got started in game development too, and that sort of thing.
Well, I've always loved games. I've always been a gamer since I was 6 years old. That's when I got my first NES and played Spy Hunter on it, my first game. And I fell in love with just playing them and eventually wanted to make them. And when I was 13, started doing my own little games in like HyperCard and that kind of thing. That's the program that was used to make Myst. So a lot of point and click kind of stuff. Yeah, taking me back.
Yeah.
But I gave it up for a little while, for a long while, went into filmmaking for a long time, but eventually found a corporate job and sat there for about 10 years until I thought, you know what? I really loved that game design stuff. Why don't we go back to that?
Yeah.
And so I saved up what little I could and quit my job. And now I'm doing it.
That is awesome, man.
Got these two games out.
That is fantastic. And where can people find information about Punch Bunny Games?
You can go to our Twitter at Punch Bunny LLC. We're pretty quick to answer questions there. Or you can go to punchbunny.com. You can find us there, and you can get just about anything you need off of there.
Awesome. And I am also going to drop the Twitch link for Punch Bunny in the chat. So make sure to follow Punch Bunny there. As is tradition on the show, let's clap it up for our guest here this week. Whether you're at home or wherever you're at, make sure to clap it up. Super excited to discuss your games with you today, Nate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. To our regular crew that's joining us, let's start over here with Dirigitive in the top left corner. Dirigitive, let those folks know who you are and where they can follow you.
Yep, I am back from my, what was it? G Fuel
rehab. That's what we've been telling everybody. You got addicted to G Fuel, and that's why you weren't here last week. Sorry for spreading that rumor.
Now that I'm over those sweats, I'm derivative. I stream games that are overlooked and underrepresented. So that's a lot of small indie titles. Occasionally, I'll hit some really deep cut AAA game that nobody played. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays over at twitch.tv/derivative. And I'm happy to be back.
Super happy to have you back, my friend. Let's clap it up. Rehab works. You too can overcome G Fuel at home. I know your friends are telling you it's just one snort and it'll all be good, but it's a warning sign. We've lost too many good people to G Fuel. Definitely right there, I dropped Dirigitive's information in the, or his link, his information. I dropped his social security number. All his information, if you want to steal his identity, is in the Twitch.
His Snapchat.
Is in the Twitch. I always love watching Dirigitive's stream. He really does go out of his way to scour the internet for all sorts of amazing finds. So if you really want to find those awesome hidden indie gems, he's your source for sure. And to my right over here is the indie goddess or the goddess of indies, we should say, for the Athena Alliance. Legend, can you introduce yourself and let folks know where they can follow you as well?
Hi guys. So yeah, I'm Legend of the Star. I am one of the stream team members of a local stream team here called Athena Alliance, and we do a lot of tournaments, panels. Each of us have our own little kind of streaming show and stuff, so it's really cool. It's hard to find women in gaming, so I'm so happy to be a part of them. Yeah, so I'm just like a variety indie streamer. I just play anything indies. I've slowly started to like dive into the scary game scene, but it's not going well. It's not going well.
Too scary?
But yeah, you guys can find me. A little bit.
Yeah, I feel you.
I'm not gonna lie. It's the anticipation of it, you know what I mean? Like, and like the scary games are so dark, and you don't want to turn it up because you don't want to like lessen the experience. But when you have those immersive headphones, it like I panic. I panic in those dark spaces. It's so like any indie game, like I don't know. And then like when things come, like I'm waiting, like you have to like peek the corner, and I don't want to go jump in me.
I'm a chicken when it comes to that stuff, especially playing in VR. I get terrified.
Well, in Phasmophobia now, the ghosts used to be able to only hear you prior to them hunting, but now in the beta, I don't think it's fully released yet, but in the beta, you can they hear you the entire time. The whole time. But yeah, like we were playing this game, the ghost showed up, was going after like the homies. But of course, me being loud, right?
Yeah.
Forgot to undo the button, so she heard me and it was
That's how it works. Well, we're here to support you, so make sure everyone who's at home right now follow Legend of the Star, and when you're seeing her watch a scary game, throw some comforting words.
I'm trying, because like I feel like I can't call myself a variety indie streamer if I don't play everything, and I've gotten a lot better at playing more genres out of my comfort zone, you know? Like for this week, for instance, I don't play a lot of mobile games. So it was really cool to be able to check yours out.
Actually, Nate, this might be, I think these are our first, I mean, we had a couple games that I think some of you guys played mobile, like what, Switch and Shoot, or there was a couple others.
That was one,
That was one.
Yeah.
But, Nate, I think yours is the first. You're setting quite a few records here. This is the first, we're expanding here, so we're trying to do some variety on here as well. But let's clap it up for Legend of the Star. Thank you, as always, for being here. We really appreciate it. And love the hair, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. I'm all green underneath.
The new look. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. And it's UV reactive. I just have to find
really?
I have to find a light now, yeah.
Sweet. All right, we got to see that. Let us know when you get that going on screen for sure. Sweet, and last but certainly not least is Tony Taiga90, whose info I just dropped in the chat as well. Tony, let them know who you are, and all that good stuff.
Hey guys, Tony Taiga90, reoccurring guest or commentator over here at Indie Game Club. Big retro gamer. A few games that I have in rotation is Castlevania Lord of Shadows, Scott Pilgrim, and it's funny because like I might be critical of graphic novels here, but I've actually been playing a whole lot of Telegate Walking Dead games. I'm not sure if you would consider those. Telltale. Yeah, definitely enjoying that. And then Tony Taiga90, you can find me pretty much at any gaming platform. Mainly right now, I've been really on Xbox Live, so definitely request me over there. And one thing I always like to end it off and say it is that my name's Tony, and I like to play video games.
I love it. Clap it up for Tony Taiga. Appreciate you as always, my friend. Sweet. Well, let's jump right into it. We're going to start off with the two games developed by Nate Besner right here. I'm going to drop on the screen right here the not only the Punch Bunny logo, but the Punch Bunny website right there. So make sure to check that out, punchbunny.com, punchbunny.com. And now also let's go ahead and, as we discuss, we're going to start off with Nate. Let's start off with your first game you developed, Tangol, and I'm actually going to drop some video of that as we play. That just kind of demonstrates the classic mode right there. We always got cats jumping in here.
Yeah, a little special game.
Yeah.
So Nate, if you could, we have some gameplay going on in this little small screen right here underneath the five of us. Can you tell us a bit about Tangol? Like, not only just start off by telling us a bit about the gameplay, and then go into a little background about what wanted you to go into this direction to create a game like this.
The Tangol is based on something that's called the Sator Square, an ancient piece of little game mechanics where you spell words both horizontally and vertically across a 5x5 grid. I've forgotten what the five words are for the Sator Square, but I took that common idea, that basic idea, and made it into a game. A friend of mine, Don Wells, used to play this game when he was a kid with his family, and he told me about it, and I just fell in love with the mechanics and the idea of creating grids in that way, word grids, and just kind of jumped off the diving board, as it were, to get into it.
Yeah, you mentioned liking word games, Grupp. Were there other games? Sometimes we hear, developers wanting to create something because they felt there wasn't something to scratch that itch that they were looking for. Or were there other games that were kind of inspiration? Or what were kind of the word games you had in mind? Or was this just something different? I mean, do you play word games regularly now, or is this kind of?
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't play many word games.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I like this one. It's a mechanic I just think is really cool.
Yeah.
To have to spell words horizontally and vertically into a grid. There's a kind of mathematical component to it that I find really interesting.
Yeah, that kind of symmetry that you're kind of have to ensure all around in order to succeed. So we're looking right now at footage of the classic mode. Can you tell folks about the different modes that are involved? And we should say for everybody at home that this game is available now on Android and iOS. I played it on Android. It is, we should say, free, but you can also get the premium version that removes advertisements, and then there's also a hint system as well, which if you're watching ads, you can earn some hints and that sort of thing. Can you talk to us about the different gameplay modes?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
The classic mode is just basically everything that I originally put together into the game. It has some additional features like these green bars that show whether or not you've spelled a word correctly. Little stuff like that to kind of help you along in building your grids. Whereas there's also an advanced mode that takes all that away. So you have to build all your grids without any assistance. And they are they're progressive grids. They come out of an algorithm. So you never know what it's going to be exactly. You may not be spelling the right word when you're doing an advanced mode.
Yeah.
There's also a free play mode in the game where you can just build whatever grid you want, any grid size from 3x3 to 6x6. And in that mode, there's also a timed mode that gets you to try to solve the grid as quickly as possible. For when you finally understood the kind of base mechanics of the classic mode, you'll want to jump into the timed mode to challenge yourself.
Yeah, and with the amount of possibilities here, I'm sure even you as the creator get caught up in situations where you're just like scratching your head, wondering what word to put in there.
Sometimes I've had to look up words. I'd be like, is that a real word? Oh, it is a real word.
Yeah. I had one. There was a couple of those. I don't know if I want to repeat those because then it might be some obvious word that you all are aware of.
Yeah. How did you not know that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's always like that, and you're just like, God dang it! And then you think to yourself, like, wait, is that really how you spell it?
Yeah.
Like, wait, hold on, and then you're like spelling it, and you're okay. Wait, okay.
Yeah, I found myself while I was playing it, I was like, I'm sure there's like a grammatical term for this, but I was taking into account the vowels and just being like, well, it has to, this has to be like the second letter or so. It can't end on this letter. So I'm just sitting here like making up words in my head and I'm like blah, and just like, is that a word? Could that fit? I was definitely entertained by that aspect of it. Tony, you want to jump in with the question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I did definitely. So me and my wife both played this. We played it on iOS. I really enjoyed it. Till it got to 4x4, then that shit was hard. but no, one of the questions she asked was, is in the game and also in the original, like the physical game, is it predetermined solutions? Meaning that like she was finding words, but because it wasn't in the exact order, we were thinking that maybe there was a predetermined solution.
Yep, there is a predetermined solution for each grid.
Okay. That makes sense.
But they're not, based on what you said, they're not actually designed. So, like, once the level starts, it's predetermined, but you didn't actually predetermine each one of those. You have, like, an algorithm.
Yeah. Randomized predetermined.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, do you have, like, kind of, like, did you feed it, like, a list of potential words based on, or, like, how were you pulling
I did,
words?
actually.
Yeah.
I created a separate program that I would feed entire dictionaries into, and it would find which were the most common words that would show up in these grids. So I created word lists based on that, which sped up the algorithm, and that's how it kind of pops in so quickly. Otherwise, it would be going through millions of variations, and it would never work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I was going to say, when I was playing, it's like, even some of these 3-letter ones were giving me trouble. Like,
yeah.
I'm like thinking, it's like I like to consider myself as a person who knows a lot of words, but like these 3-letter words, and I'm like, and I like try like I try like a million different 3-letter words that fit there, and yeah.
Did you ever consider like the 4-letter words ones, just doing expletives like all over? Like,
I have considered that. I've considered doing variations, having an MA rated ability, like you could turn on, kind of like you could turn on violence, you could turn on curse words.
Not suitable for work.
3-letter words. When it was 3x3, it was definitely enjoyable. It's sort of funny because when we got to 4x4, my wife literally said, "Yo, this is like Words with Friends for PhD students." I was like, damn.
What's the reaction been like? Have you got those responses where people are like, "Man, this is really flexing my my muscles here." What's the response been from fans and players?
That's been a majority of the response has been that they say it's incredibly difficult until you get it, and once you once it really clicks and you start getting some of the words and how everything works, it becomes more like solving a puzzle than trying to find the words themselves, which I found really interesting because I did not intend that, and apparently there you go. It's just a nice little feature.
I started noticing that when the symmetry, like when you were trying to get maybe if you could see one word going one way, like horizontally, you could try it vertically. And
another way.
Yeah, and it felt really solid. Sorry, Tony, you were about to jump in with the question?
No. So one of the things that I had is that 3x3, it was really easy, or not really easy. It was nothing in this game is easy. It was really fun because the colors it highlighted, so you can sort of do some kind of trial and error and try to figure it out. But I think when you get to 4x4 and then eventually, like you said, the other levels, they don't handhold you like that, or at least I don't remember the colors. Do you?
The colors,
or the highlights.
Yeah, they should show up for the in just plain classic mode. They should show up for all grid sizes.
For all.
You might have been playing advanced, cool. Tony. With the advanced mode is the one where it removes, right? Yeah, with advanced mode it removes the colors. Can you describe, just so people understand what we're talking about with the colors? Because the folks in the audience, hey, we got a great crowd. Thanks for everybody again who's watching on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We got a lot of folks here across all 3 platforms. Can you describe what those colors are? So if somebody's looking, I think, the nice thing about this game is just by looking at it, it's like a word game. You can kind of see what's going on here. But what are those what are the colors that Tony described there? Because you see green and yellow sometimes around the letters. Can you explain that a bit?
The yellow signifies a word that is in the grid but is not in the correct place. And the actual grid lines that show up, the green and the yellow, point in the direction that they're supposed to be going. So say you get 3 yellow lines horizontally, well, that word fits horizontally, but it's just not in the right spot. Yeah. So you have that word. They're also heavier green solid green lines around certain tiles, and those are hint blocks. Those are tiles that are already in place and good to go.
Yeah. And I love speaking of like the hints and everything. One of the things that I think is most satisfying about this game is like you've nailed all of the like mobile elements, so to speak. I don't know if there's like a professional term for this, but when you're looking at a mobile game, you want something that has like the flashy effects and the sound, everything from like the screen transitions to like the sound, when the voice that says Tangol and all of that stuff. You did a really good job about doing that. Was that something? Where did that factor into the process? Is that just from playing other mobile games, or just knowing that satisfying like feeling gamers want to grab?
It was kind of a bit of both. I did do a lot of research into other word games and kind of got a feel for them. But I kind of look at this game as almost a UX kind of game, or a UI. It's all UI, user interface.
Yeah.
And that experience is what's really important to make the game feel good. So I paid a lot of attention to what other games were doing. I tried to really make it feel good from my point of view, and hopefully other people think it's good. feels good based on that. But yeah.
What would you say so far? Like, speaking of the reaction to this being like this is the first of your commercial games that you've released. How has it been like being an indie developer releasing a game into this world, and what's the reaction been like? Any kind of like lessons you've learned in the process?
The biggest lesson I've learned is learn how to do ASO, App Store optimization, and learn how to make ads for ad networks, because that is huge in the mobile market. It's the biggest way to get out there, and it's not something I was prepared for when I first released the game, but now is something I'm trying to take care of.
And so that's something you're doing like right now, and like so, and by that you mean that when I'm like playing a mobile game like Tangol, like during the ads, it'll show like the gameplay and like go into the details there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sure these things have a lot of legs though, so I mean you could continue doing it and optimizing. Tony, go for it.
Well, I would definitely tell to anybody for the game. I really enjoyed it. Definitely has a rewards for friends vibe to it, but definitely really interesting game mechanic of vertical and horizontal. Everything has to line up in a particular word choice. Definitely those highlights are very useful, and now I'm thinking that maybe my second playthrough, maybe I accidentally pressed that other mode.
Yeah, I think you were in advance.
Thinking hard as shit. But definitely with thumbs up. Definitely enjoyed the game. Gonna actually go back and play it and stick to that the highlight mode.
All right.
I'm seeing it in the chat. Legend, yo kids interrupt us. Who are the kids? Are we the kids, or are you talking about your kids?
My teenager keeps coming in, and she's like, every time she comes in, she forgets what she wants to tell me, so she leaves. And then she gets to where she's going, and she remembers, and then she comes back. I'm like, just sit down at your computer, just send it to me in Discord. Like,
modern,
just as soon as you remember, like
modern parenting and COVID.
Oh my God.
I totally feel you on that. Well, one of the interesting things, Nate, is that I remember, it's hard to remember, but back in the days before COVID, when Potions and Pixels was hosting, multiple events a week, I remember how excited people were when you came to a few of the events with the card game version of Tangol. And so we had a lot of fun playing that. But from our last conversation, I know you're actually exploring launching like a board game version of Tangol. And can you go over that a bit? Like, I guess kind of explain what the card game, board game looks like, and if this newer version, how different it is from that and the video game.
The card game was kind of a letter-based deck builder. It was all card-based, but there were a couple of mechanical problems with it. It was kind of hard to see the words you were spelling, and I tried to work around it and came to the conclusion that I really wanted a more tile-based look for it. And with a board, you can do that. You can get a little 10-inch board, like the size of King Domino or something like that, and get 2-inch size cards, and those are perfect for tile size. So I kind of reconfigured the entire system to be a board game where each person has their own individual grid, and they're trying to build up 3x3 to 5x5 grids and score points off of that, rather than having one communal grid like the card game did. It's a lot different. I have a version of it on Tabletop Simulator. I'm currently playtesting. If anybody out there wants to playtest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, here's a question. I'm assuming that it's single player, because the game, the mobile game is single player. So I would assume that the board top is sort of like a solitary type of thing going on, right?
There is a solitaire mode, but it is right now it is up to 4 players. So each player would get.
How do you do that?
Yeah. Each player gets their own. Each player gets their own individual grid board, and they're building their own individual grids on their boards to try to score points. There are also cards that allow you to kind of mess up your opponent's grids.
Screw up their spells.
That's interesting.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so what's
that's
that
interesting.
been like? I mean, as far as like, because it sounds like it's even, there's been some difference from development from the card game version to where you're at now. During COVID, like I'm assuming, Tabletop Simulator has been a great way to play test this and refine it. Where are you in the development cycle of that project, and when are you thinking about releasing that?
Right now, I'm taking quotes for how much a print run would cost, and once I have those quotes solid, I'm going to start off a Kickstarter.
Awesome.
Nice.
Any rough thoughts, like on when it might be? Not to put you on the spot here. If you don't want to, you can say
you're on the spot.
To be determined. When it's done, you can just say that.
I'm hoping it'll be the next couple of months.
Okay, cool. Really excited about that. And for the audience watching at home, either live or in the future, is that something you, Nate, that you do want playtesters for? Can they come to you?
Oh yeah.
What's the
absolutely.
best way to get in touch with you for that? Is it through Discord or email or?
Right now, it's just straight through email.
Okay.
You can just email me. You can email me directly, or you can find us on Twitter. Direct message me there.
Okay. So you're on Twitter or email. And your email's available on website punchbunny.com, right?
Yes.
I'm excited.
And did I hear that correctly? You said it's the last. It goes from 3x3 to 5x5. So 5x5 is the lead.
The
5x5 is the.
Yeah. On the board game, you can get up to a 5x5. Since there are double letter tiles, there are tiles with 2 letters on them, and you get to choose the letter that you use.
Okay, I definitely got to get there.
Yeah. Nate, you got several people that are looking forward to the Kickstarter here on Twitch. We got Anders Seymour saying, sign me up. Winter Soul saying, I'm in. Stoic Squirrel saying, kickstarting that. So it looks like you already got people who are excited. Thank you all so much for participating in the chat. Feel free, if you are in the chat, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, we got all the chat consolidated. So I am definitely down to entertain any questions you got for Nate as we discuss his games. And Elite Shinobi, of course, saying me 3 as well. So Elite Shinobi's in it as well. Love it. Any other questions about Tangol before we bring in the footage for Meteoroids? Okay, cool. We're gonna. Any other announcements or anything you want to say about Tangol, Nate?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, awesome. Well, definitely check it out. As we said, Tangol is available right now on iOS and Android. Make sure to check it out. In fact, I can drop, as an Android user, I can drop the Android version link in here. If you want to get the best version, do you have metrics for what platforms people are using?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, iOS has trounced the Android version.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the like I said, it's a game for PhD students. So like all the iPhone guys are just they're a little smarter. I don't know.
And reporting from 20XX is interested in writing a review on it, so that might be something good to connect you all together for that. That would be really awesome. He's been doing bi-weekly reviews on different indie games, so I think that'll be a good connection right there. Actually, I think you guys know each other, but
yeah,
just making those connections right there would be great. All right, let's jump into your next game here, Nate, and just give me a moment to make this transition here. And this game is Meteoroids, which is on the screen right now. Can you give us an idea here? Actually, before you jump into that, I guess it's clear for people who are watching this footage that this is a shmup, a shoot 'em up game. I don't play, or maybe I don't play enough mobile games. I haven't seen many shmups on mobile that have such smooth controls.
I only, oh my gosh, man, you hit it right on the, I was literally the same thing I was gonna say. Is like, I've never seen a shoot 'em up on touch or mobile device where it had that smooth controlling with the circle. That is one of the most impressive things that I've seen. It was a little tricky for me to shoot, but or to understand the other shooting mechanic, but the maneuvering with one single finger with the circle was ingenious.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Nate, can you talk about that? Can you tell us about Meteoroids? Because Meteoroids actually, you were developing in different forms, and I don't know if it originally was mobile first focused. So can you tell us a bit about what's the game that we're looking at? How did you get to this point here with it?
It was originally it was a game I put up on itch. It was a side-scrolling rather than a top-down shmup, and used completely different mechanics. It was one of the first games that I made once I started getting back into game design. And I decided, since I already had the components there and kind of had this concept of what I wanted to do with a mobile version of a shoot 'em up, I just took the materials and completely rebuilt it for a mobile experience. But the reason I went with that, having the little thumbprint where you drag the ship around, is that having played other shmups on mobile, the thing that always bothered me were the side controls, like thumb-based controls where you're sliding around and whatnot. I wanted something that, as somebody who loves Twitch gaming, I wanted something where you could really move quickly.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen much in that. There are so many bullet hell games. There are a ton of them out there.
Yeah.
There is. There's a little too much, honestly. It's a little oversaturated at this point. It's like the trend now.
Yeah, it has become that.
But I like what's interesting in this one also is that not only is it really smooth right there with the controls and the thumb, but also it has a really cool mechanic where if folks notice, there is a meter a red meter that slowly builds up as you tap it, and if you tap it enough, it like charges your shot to where you can do a super version of your shot. And I thought that was a clever way to incorporate that. So I feel like you really did do a great job of translating shmup.
I liked that mobile, because that caught me off guard. Yeah. And then all of a sudden there was like this big explosion. I was like, "Ooh!"
Yeah.
Okay.
I love big giant anime beams blowing stuff up. I needed to have something like that in my shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
Now with the tapping, is there like a limit to like the speed, or is just my thumb dexterity just going rage?
It is your thumb dexterity.
Oh, okay.
Totally. Yeah.
That's awesome. So like it really is a truly, as you said, a Twitch-based game, because you're not only moving things around, but also having to tap so quickly in order to get the shots out.
I was so surprised by it because it's so user-friendly. In a lot of mobile games, especially, they're not user-friendly. I didn't use my thumb. I used my finger. I don't know how you guys hold your phones, but I was like this.
Maybe that was my mistake. I was playing it on the iPad.
Oh, were you?
Oh, wow.
I was playing on the phone, and I used my thumb to
You did? I didn't use my phone.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. That's weird. But I was just like, doing it.
Yeah. One thing, like I said, one thing that I could not give enough praise for is the maneuvering and the mechanic of that circle is just pure ingenious. Like, I've never seen anything like that, and it was just really freaking smooth to maneuver.
For sure.
Making me think I should do another shoot 'em up.
Yeah, that part
you probably should.
I'm totally
should.
gonna second that with Tony because for everybody, like it really feels good because it's like as fast as you're able to, as smoothly as you're able to move your thumb, you're able to move the ship versus sometimes with a joystick it doesn't necessarily translate as well. So that was definitely
cool. Like you just shoot the things and like you shoot the meteors and like things come and it changes your ammo. I didn't like the swirly one. That was like weird. I don't like that one.
Well, of the shots?
There's one, the different I didn't like the swirly shots. And then
I like that one. That was one of my favorites.
I was like, I don't know, like it didn't work for me. Maybe I wasn't tapping hard enough. Speaking of one of your favorites, are you the mic that's like number 9 in the leaderboard?
Me?
Because there's someone that says MIK and it says 9 on the leaderboard. I didn't know if that was you, Mr. Pro Gamer. All like, I'm gonna go on the leaderboard.
I don't know if I don't know if that is. Nate, do you know who?
There is. It's not a real leaderboard. They're all just they're high scores that are held locally.
Oh, local. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have not put in leaderboards yet.
I'm surprised Mike's not at that.
Oh, so you plan to put in leaderboard, like actually?
Yes, I do plan to put in leaderboards. There are just a couple of things I have to fix with the kind of engine behind it. A couple of systems that I need to tie into it, but leaderboards are coming.
Sweet. You heard it here first, folks, or I think you heard it here. You might have been telling everybody this all over the internet.
I was waiting for you to be like, as soon as I popped in the Discord call, I'd be like, so I finished the game in like 20 seconds.
Like, legend. When you snort G Fuel as much as I do, anything's possible.
Got me on the G Fuel.
We got some comments here in the chat. JCube64 says, I've killed my thumb trying to beat my high score on Meteoroids, but it's so fun I can't stop. Our own Tony the Taiga saying the controls are butter smooth for sure, which JCube says absolutely. Yeah, I think that's something if you're into shmups and just love that feeling of like tapping, building energy, destroying everything.
It was
around,
so user friendly. Yeah, so easy, so user friendly. Like you can just chill and play it. I was really impressed by it, and I, don't play a lot of mobile games.
It makes you wonder, like, what other controls? Like, you could probably do like Pong like that. You can. It was just such an innovative way, and something like a shoot 'em up you would not think.
Your thumb will get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you shoot 'em up on a touchscreen. You're like, how the heck are you gonna do a shoot 'em up on a touchscreen? And so that was actually very clever. So, like I said, I can't give enough praise for that.
Yeah, Derivative made a good point about that. He was, or I assume this is what you're going at, is like by having that thumb spot versus it on the ship, it feels like it tackles the issue of visibility, right? Because one of the challenges of mobile games is literally your own hands are an obstruction to your vision.
Yes.
And so by having your thumb there, it really...
that was a beautiful design choice.
Was that?
That's the point. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, I wanted to see the ship. You always want to see the ship. Yeah, when you play Galaga, you want to see the ship. You want to see when it gets that second ship.
Yeah. For sure. And we should say, as Legend was saying with the different weapon types, the nice thing about them is some you may like, some you may not, but you have choices all the time. Like they're falling every time you're destroying these meteors, like different weapons come out. And so how many are there? What is it?
3.
3 different types of weapons. You want to describe those real quick? People are probably noticing on the gameplay footage right there. And we should say, this is my fault, folks. It looks like at one point the gameplay video gets a little choppy. Maybe I didn't encode it right. I promise you the game is buttery smooth. That might be on my end. A little chop right there when it replays or whatnot. But Nate, can you tell us what the 3 weapons are?
Yeah, there's the plasma beam, which is, or at least I call it a plasma beam. That's your base weapon. It shoots just little diddly bullets until you get up to the, when you power it up, you get this ultra giant beam cannon that's the most powerful weapon in the game.
Nice.
You have the wave beam, which kind of splits off. It's your typical wave beam you'd find in a Metroid or something like that, or Life Force. And then there's the spread beam, because everybody loves a spread beam. You can't get out without a spread beam. You need that. Pure Contra.
Yeah,
you want
for sure.
a beam that spreads out into multiple directions and can take out everything on the screen at once.
Absolutely.
No, I didn't happen to notice. I think because it's not like your bullet hell like that. It's become really really popular. The hitbox on the ship, is that the entire ship, or is it? Because I know some of them use like the little square that's like in the middle to represent it. But I know if you're not doing a bullet hell, it doesn't necessarily need to be that.
Yeah, I use an oval, kind of an oval to go around the ship, and then it's in by like 2 pixels inside it, so it's fair.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. And so what's the reaction been to Meteoroids overall?
It's been really good. It's been getting a lot of downloads. It's had a lot of retention. People seem to really enjoy it. It's going very well. This is the newer of the two, so it's kind of still getting its legs. Sure. But I'm about to roll out a marketing campaign for the thing. And try to get it really out there. So we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome. And again, everybody watching, available on Android and iOS right now. What's next for you here, Nate? I mean, I know you just mentioned that for both Tangol and Meteoroids, you're going to optimize all the ad side of things. That these games, definitely mobile games especially, have a lot of legs. So I can imagine you'd be doing that for a while. But as far as we talked about the Kickstarter, have you thought beyond that? I know that's already a lot on your plate right now, but are you thinking any other game ideas swirling in your head?
I actually have 2 prototypes I'm working on right now. One is called Little Davy's House of Horrors, which is a side scroller about a kid who shows up in this haunted house and does not want to be there at all. He just wants to leave. He wants to drop all his weapons and get out, but nobody will let him. So he keeps having to fight monsters in this haunted house and does not enjoy it.
That sounds awesome.
What platform? That sounds awesome.
I was hoping for Switch as my first.
You're speaking, Tony. You're speaking everybody's language here. Everybody is excited about that.
I love this.
That is really cool.
Other than that,
follow your social media platform for all the updates or something?
Yeah. At Punch Bunny LLC. That's where you'll find every possible update. The other one I've got working right now is Skateboard Riding Dog, where you are a dog that rides a skateboard, and then when you can actually flip the skateboard and have it ride your back, so then the skateboard rides the dog.
That is awesome.
That's cool.
That sounds That,
all right. Okay.
What
platform? And that should be the next one. That'll be mobile. That'll be for iOS and Android.
All right.
That sounds really cool. And so when you're the dog, you're running just like kind of like how does the feel change when you're switching between the two?
It's a little slow. You're a little slower when you're running. You can't go as fast. There are ramps that you have to take, and you have to be on your skateboard to ride those. So you have to flip really quickly between sections in order to hit them. Kind of an endless runner meets Paperboy.
Sweet.
Okay. All right. I got you.
Okay, so it's an isometric view with that then.
I'm going for a side-scrolling view.
Okay, when you were mentioning, I was thinking Adventure Island.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. That is definitely something that was in my mind when I was designing the thing.
I'm excited about this.
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
I just dropped the Punch Bunny Twitter info in the chat. Make sure if you're a Twitter user to follow Punch Bunny there. It seems like a common kind of, I guess. Well, it's hard to say common because Tangol and Meteoroids feel like, very different, right? Different styles.
They're very different. I honestly, if I wouldn't have known you, you know what I mean? Or if I would just Joe Schmo, whatever, looking at games, I never would have thought at all that these games would have been made by the same person.
Which is cool.
Really, I never would have because it's completely a different contrast from a shoot 'em yellow, in space and creepy eyeball thing chasing you or whatever you have to follow and having to find words in a specific order. That's cool. I'm impressed. I like that.
Which is awesome. It lines up with Indie Game Club. Like, for those who are frequent watchers of Indie Game Club, that every week we try to go through a variety of different games, not only because we love a variety of games, but also to kind of challenge ourselves and challenge you, hopefully, to kind of look at games and say, hey, I might have not normally been into that sort of thing, but after hearing about it, after talking about it, watching it.
Yeah, like Tony's deep into the Tangol, and I was not deep into, because I'm just, words are hard for me. It's hard, which I didn't know it's like 3 squares.
I didn't even know she was the hard
I didn't make it that high, but it was still fun to play. It was still enjoyable.
Yeah,
that's something my mom does. Like my mom, she plays those games. Like there's just one mobile game too, where it's like a skillet, and you have to like do the things, and like that's hers and Tony's jams. And Tony's wife too. She likes that game.
Yeah, I mean, I love it.
I was playing the hard mode. I had no idea.
You're too good, Tony. You're too good. Well, I love that, Nate. That if somebody, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if you're kind of pitching yourself to someone to like play one of your games, if they're not into one, like you're like, I have something wildly different here to provide you. So I'm hitting you from all sides here. We do got a couple more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
Oh no, I get bored doing the same thing. I like. I want to try doing something different with every game.
I love that.
And exploring new ideas, that kind of thing.
I love that. And we got a couple comments here in the Twitch. JCube64 saying, Nate is a Renaissance game developer. He hits all the genres. I love it. And Stoic Squirrel 78 saying, so many game designers have a look. So I love that these two games are different. Something for everyone.
I agree.
With Anderson Moore.
Definitely use a Renaissance game developer, because we're going through a plague right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Nate is here to the rescue here with this stuff.
I'll do what I can.
You got a lot riding on you right there. Well, again, for Punch Bunny Games, you have Tangol and Meteoroids. We still have 3 more games to discuss, so we're about to jump to those. But super excited to have Indie Game Club as a place for you to jump in, Nate, and talk about your games and development, and looking forward to being able to get a chance to talk about a lot of these upcoming projects in the future.
I love it. I can't wait till I can share some builds with you guys and see what you think.
Absolutely. Especially on that one that you just mentioned. Definitely that one.
Yeah.
Right now, Skateboard Riding Dog is only playable with a controller, so you guys might like that.
Ooh.
Oh,
Tony!
Tony's like,
Tony, speak of Tony's language.
Hell yeah, controller.
Tony's our resident controller head here. Like anytime.
Controller head and readme file.
That's the way to Tony's heart. Tony, does your wife know that? Like, we can send a message. Like, if you want to spice things up in your marriage, just
put on that sex week. But no, so that's another thing too. So like, with his particular games, like it was pretty intuitive. Like once you read the instructions, it wasn't extremely long instructions. A lot of the gameplay was intuitive.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily like, there's definitely some games where you need a README file as a controller. But his is pretty intuitive. Once you sort of went through the tutorial, especially of Tangol, it's a new concept. Once you went through the tutorial, you can sort of figure it out,
For sure.
Yeah.
But if you want to win Tony's heart, just throw a README in there, and Tony will.
Throw README in there.
Tony loves READMEs and controllers.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thankfully, Nate's going to stick with us through the show, because he actually played through the other 3 games that we are going to discuss today. So can't wait to discuss those games. But again, for everybody here, make sure I'm going to drop that logo in one more time for Punch Bunny Games. Right there. So punchbunny.com. Make sure to check them out on at their website, on Twitter, and on the Twitch link that we dropped earlier. And good to see several other people join us in the chat. Thanks everybody, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. Really appreciate you. We see Urios is in the chat. Excited next week, actually, with Urios. We're excited to continue our series exploring the history of the fighting game community in Charlotte. So Urios is probably not going to like me referring to him as this, but I kind of consider him one of the resident historians of the fighting game community here. And so he's assembled.
Really?
Yeah, he's assembled a whole
cool.
crew of people. He's very thorough about it. So he assembles like he doesn't want to be the single person. He brings in all these people that he knows have the expertise in this different area, and I'm really looking forward to that. So that'll be on Tuesday next week. Make sure to stay tuned for that for sure. He said, "Good to see everyone chatting. Wish I could stay and listen in. Hopefully you can stick around a little or at least catch the VOD later." Awesome. So let's jump in to our next games here. Let's keep it going with a bit. We were talking about Twitch games right here. So let me jump over to Big Boy Boxing.
Oh yeah!
I'm excited to talk about this one. Let me see if that's available on. Nope, unfortunately, there's not a Twitch tag for it right now. Yeah, let's talk about Big Boy Boxing. So, Tony, tell us what it's like. Yeah,
so one thing I would definitely say, it reminds me of Punch Out, the game on NES.
For sure.
Plus, Rumble, Ready to Rumble Boxing on Dreamcast.
Okay.
So think Punch Out, very similar mechanics, but when I mean Ready to Rumble, there is a special button that you can use to operate a special. I really enjoyed this game. One thing that I wish there was more of it, because I don't think it was apparently you just beat the. Well, it's a really awesome game. It's a really awesome game. I wish it was more.
It's a really early demo, apparently.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Derivative. Specifically, this is an early development alpha build of the game, but it still kicks ass.
Oh, yeah.
That's on the itch page.
Hell yeah.
Let me. I'll read a couple things in here, because I think it's kind of cool to listen to the inspirations that the developer wrote. Let's see. Big Boy Boxing is the action slapstick boss rush game where every fight comes with a punchline. Challenge all the former boxing champions and reignite the glory days of boxing. Taking inspiration from old and new games like Shovel Knight, Cuphead, and Punch-Out, you punch and dodge your way through over a dozen characters with unique gameplay concepts and a story personality. And as Tony said, this is a really short experience. It's actually only one fight. It's a tutorial and an initial fight. So it's like a.
But I was going with it because the one fight. So the one person you're fighting against actually happens to be someone in the gym. It's Hobo. I forgot the guy's name. Hobo something. Hobo Hank.
Yeah.
Or Hobo Dude. Yeah, Hobo Dude. There's Hank the coach. And it's like a tutorial, and then there's the Hobo Dude. Really would be really cool, like going forward in the other bosses or people you fight, if they had personality like Hank did and like Hobo Dude. They had personality where it was funny and they were characters. So the next people that you have to face, they have to be characters, and that's why it sort of reminds me of Ready to Rumble Boxing, is because like everyone had a personality,
And it looks like, based on the dev's Twitter page, at Real Soup Masters. I love the name.
That's
Soup
okay.
Masters. It looks like it's exactly what you want, Tony. It looks like there's a lot of character, a lot of personality, and that there's a lot of inspiration from like transitions in Cuphead, like kind of like animations there and like changing up the gameplay. I can't get enough Punch-Out. We were talking about this. Derivative had some good recommendations in a little chat we have outside of this. I love Punch-Out. It kind of combines that dexterity and puzzle feel that I don't think anything else quite does. Legend is going to be shocked by me saying this, but this actually I felt like I struggled with a bit, considering that I feel I struggled a little bit with struggled in the sense that I honestly came into it. I'm like, well, I'm pretty damn good at Punch-Out, so can't wait to talk about this on Indie Game Club.
Similar to Ready to Rumble, but this game is heavy on dodging. So if you did not implement dodging, do 1, 2, 3 punches, dodging, the special meter or the actual special where the character lights up yellow. In the tutorial, it was like, hey, it lights up yellow, push the button. It was pretty simple. But what you find out in the physical game is that it lights up yellow for like a split second. So you sort of have to be very, very fast in pushing the special button. But yeah, definitely dodging is a big portion of this game for sure.
Something I found interesting with the dodging was that, well, one, I was terrible at this game. I was absolutely terrible at it. I was terrible at the punch out as well, but I really got into this thing. When you actually make that punch, when you actually get that split second in time, you feel really good about it because the timing is so dead on with this thing. Like, I had to learn to slow myself down and not just continuously punch. I had to just think for a moment and step back away from the hobo dude. It's great.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Legend and Derivative, how was it for you all?
Yeah, I think one of the things really to this game's benefit was the fact that, it's got the modern lack of limitations when it comes to animation.
Mm-hmm.
When I play Punch-Out, because there's such a limited animation and limited memory space, you really have to split second think of everything, knowing just the moment. It's okay, they're gonna go for a left hook. With this one, there's a full-on animation. You could see, if you're paying attention, you could see the full-on kind of movement going, which makes it a little bit easier. It's still a difficult game for the fact that one Punch-Out, you had a health bar, I mean, the enemy had one as well in this game, but you basically had hearts in this, where it's you make
3 hits.
Was it 3 or 4 mistakes?
Three hits, yeah.
And you're done. There's no mashing the button to stand back up or anything like that. You're just done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really had to pay attention to what you were doing. When you go into this game, you're thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna be back."
Yeah.
But you have to pay attention to what's going. And the characters, I'm excited to see the interactions down the road. If it's gonna be anything like the chemistry that these characters had, it's gonna be hilarious. And you can tell they put a lot of work into it. That it's going to be something that I don't like games that are like this and then they rush it, so it's really good in the beginning and then it finally releases. You're super excited to play it and it's total upsetting. And I'm hoping it's not like that. The graphics reminded me a lot of the pizza situation.
Yeah.
It's very bright, very drawn, but that 2D animation, but still had sort of that 3D. I was impressed.
Yeah,
I was impressed. I have high hopes for when it does fully release because I had a blast playing it. I don't, these games aren't. Dude, it was good. I liked it. I was
yeah. When I played this demo, the hobo dude, it's fine. But you think about Punch-Out, it had some really kind of problematic enemies. You think about the enemies that were. Soda Drunkinski and things like that.
Yeah.
I was so happy when I looked at their Twitter page and saw some of the other designs they're going. They're not going off of stereotypes. One of the characters is literally 3 kids in an overcoat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a good point to bring up, Derivative, though. As far as I think. The hobo dude kind of thing, it could potentially be problematic depending on how it's, especially if all the characters kind of have these stereotypes. And the original Punch-Out had some issues there. I think in this case, it seemed like hobo dude was living in he
was living
in the punching bag itself.
I didn't make that connection. I know you punched a punching bag, and then afterwards he comes out. I didn't make the connection that he was living in there. For sure. One thing I would say to anybody playing the game too, a good tip is that, like we said before, dodging is very essential. So and so what you want to do is maybe land 2 to 3 punches, aim upwards, hit at the head, 2 to 3 punches, and then get ready to dodge. Because what I realized is that my first playthrough, I'm sitting there punching, but then I didn't have enough time to dodge an attack, and so I was always getting hit. Exactly. And in this game, I have it in my notes, it's 3 punches and you're out.
Yep. Yeah, You're right. That was the thing, the biggest obstacle I had to overcome, is I was used to original Punch-Out, where if you have an opening, like, take it as much as possible.
Yeah.
And in this case,
Yeah.
you don't just want to, like, a few times you want to get, like, hit, but then you actually want to, like, methodically slow down, because I felt like I actually didn't have enough time, like, speaking to your point, Derivative, like, taking into account enemy animations, I felt like I had to take into account my own animation, because I was, like, the amount of time it takes to connect in some of those cases, like, I realized that from me connecting, I couldn't stop and then dodge, or at least I don't think it did. I forgot the terminology of fighting community.
You probably didn't have enough time to dodge.
So, like,
I
cancel
came
your
across
action.
that plenty of times.
Yeah, you can't really cancel, I guess, your actions. So, like, you have to time your hit in order to then back out.
It's easier to dodge left and right than it is to jump backwards. The reason why I say that is that when you dodge left, you can hold the left analog stick or whatever stick, and then you can just sort of stay there, right?
Yeah.
But when you dodge backwards, you automatically jump back forward. Does that make sense? So, like, when you can hold the left, you can hold the right stick, and you can literally stay on the right side, and you can stay on the left side. But when you dodge backwards, it's not you hold it and you stay there. You press it, but then you jump forward.
Gotcha.
Okay, so when you did the dodge to the left and the right, it actually held onto it indefinitely? Was that what the situation was?
Yeah. So you could.
My controller was acting up, so, like, it was doing it for a bit, and then, like, my battery would start freaking out, and it would go back.
Oh.
So I made the game harder for myself because I didn't charge my controller.
Yeah, I didn't catch that part. I want to play that aspect of it again.
So, like, if you dodge to the right and you just hold right, you actually physically stay there. Like, whereas if you dodge backwards, I think it's like less than a second. You jump backwards. You don't dodge. You jump backwards. You jump forward. But you can actually stay to the right or you can stay to the left, depending if you hold it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And keep in mind, like, these things, it is a very, very early demo.
Sure.
It's very likely these things will get tweaked over time.
Yeah. We got Mike Bierman, Death Machine. Thanks for jumping into the Twitch chat and bringing in these awesome questions right here. Also saying he makes him want to play Punch Out. He asked, "Can you counterpunch?" By that, I'm wondering if you're talking about the yellow.
You can.
Is that what?
You
guys want to describe that?
So when he's talking to the yellow, so a good example, if he's gonna sit there and punch you to he's punching across to the left hand side. The left hand side is the danger zone. So you want to jump over to the right hand side. As he's making that punch, he'll actually flash for a split second yellow. That's why I say that on the tutorial, that thing stays yellow and you just push it. But, like, when you're actually doing the dodge, it's like a split second yellow, and you got to be able to push that button really quick.
Yeah. And then when you do that, what you want to share what happens?
Oh yeah, it counts. Sorry, it counters. So you can't get. So to answer your question, can you counterpunch? Yeah, you can. You just dodge, and then it bits yellow, and then you hit the right, that split second when it hits yellow, you push the white button, and then you're able to counterpunch.
And then you earn thunder as well, which was the equivalent.
Ready to rumble.
And that's what you hit select when you were playing on the NES, right? You hit select for, like, the star punch. Was that it?
Yeah,
it sounds like everybody is really excited here. We just got somebody in the Twitch chat, Farmer3, saying you can even defeat him without dodging, but it's pretty hard. Interesting. Okay, so I guess... I assume that's the kind of just calculating all those yellow moments so that you never have to dodge.
Hard.
Time it perfectly.
That would be hard. That would be really hard.
Yeah. We're gonna. This is one. It seems like
you guys came into this game playing it like it was playing, like you were playing Punch Out. I never played those games, so I have no right. So I came into this with a whole different perspective. So the troubles y'all had, I didn't, because I didn't experience.
So you got the top. You beat Hobo Man on your first try there, Legend.
I did pretty good.
Nice.
These games are pretty, like, self, not to say like self-explanatory, but you dodge, and then there's a yellow thing, like in Grimm's Hollow, where you have to hit it, just right, because if you didn't, you get attacked. So it's all about the timing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because she actually was patient and waited for the timing, whereas us with Punch Out, we're thinking, like, hit at the head as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly. So, Legend, did you have that reference? Like, when you were, did you have it? So, like, I know you said you didn't play Punch Out, but were you, like, thinking just from, like, seeing past footage or
Well,
pictures
just
of it?
well, not just seeing past footage, but I mean, once you play it, you sort of get the gist of kind of like, well, if I do this, then this is what happens. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, for me, it was like that. Like, of course, like I did go in, like, and I was like, dude, what the F? Like, why can't I do? Like, I kept getting. But then once I like slowed down, I was like, all right, like this is ridiculous. It's just like not even like just play this stupid game. So once I relaxed, I was like, oh, you dodge and like, but Tommy said you hold it. If you let go, you're obviously going to be back. And when I didn't really think of it more of like a dodge backwards, more of like just a like a like a bob and weave. Like you would just bob it and weave it. Instead of just. So that's how I played it. Was like if I was in a boxing match, like how would I proceed?
Absolutely. Nate,
let's say that the name Big Boy Boxing is just it's genius. It's like, oh, you just went to the potty.
Big Boy Boxing.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I read it. I read the title just like a little Big Boy.
Yeah.
You do some Big Boy Boxing. So I like read it in my head.
Nate, I know you were mentioning that you had played the Punch-Out series and everything before. Do you feel like this is kind of a worthy kind of spiritual successor of sorts, or?
I have a friend who is like the biggest Punch-Out fan on the planet. My friend Jamie, he loves it more than any other game, and I think he would love this game. So I definitely think it's at least it is at least a spiritual successor.
I love it.
It's really good.
Yeah, because we actually haven't had an official Punch-Out from Nintendo since the Wii, right? If I'm not mistaken. We had
you're right.
NES, SNES, and Wii have been our only kind
And surprisingly, not a lot not are trying to mimic it. Not a lot of people are trying to mimic the gameplay.
Well, no, because it's
not
a now. It's it doesn't. It's weird. It's like all these game releases start to slowly come out, like movies. They all come out in like waves, So it's like
but you think I know.
And,
I feel you on that. But Derivative, I remember in the chat a couple days ago, you were mentioning, you want to mention the other title you were recommending for the NES, the Punch-Out like game?
Oh, I'm trying to remember what the name. Power Punch 2.
Yes,
is what it was called.
You guys familiar with this?
It was intended to be basically a sequel to Punch-Out. The fact that it was actually called originally, I think, Mike Tyson's Galactic Punch, and then Mike Tyson had legal issues, so they're like, oh, we can't. Nintendo's like, oh, we really don't want to support this game anymore, so they just, made the character look slightly less like Mike Tyson and just released it as Power Punch 2, even though there's no Power Punch 1.
I love that. That's so cool to me that there is no Power Punch 1. So if you want Power Punch 2,
and something that is with the thing, it's like everyone that you're fighting is clearly not like human beings. So like they're all like random like alien monsters and shit. So
I need to play.
That's really funny.
Frankenstein, yeah.
That sounds so awesome.
One's Frankenstein
monster.
I love that.
You guys are weird.
Shout out to Captain V in the Twitch chat. Hey, Captain V, how you doing? He's saying very few good boxing games out there, though I will say Beast Boxing Turbo is also amazing to try. You know what? I pride myself on knowing every damn game out there, and I don't remember Beast Boxing Turbo, so I feel like I need to pull this one out. I know. I got to. Are you guys have any of you guys played Beast Boxing Turbo? Looks interesting.
Nope.
I've seen this before.
This might be something we check out soon. It looks like a fairly recent game.
The request of the publisher, Beast Boxing Turbo, is no longer available for sale on Steam.
Interesting.
Oh, I wonder what taboo happened there.
Yeah, it's like a Punch-Out type game. Yeah, that's...
They were buying too much GameStop stock.
Yeah, exactly. Captain D, if you know the background to that, we would love to learn a little bit more. Awesome. Well,
it looks like the company went out of business and they decided to delist it because they weren't getting any of the money.
Okay. You'd think that they might, going out of business, might be able to sell off some properties, or I don't know if they were just the owner or just
like some games, like the thing that would have been making the money. So that
Right?
Yeah. Captain V saying, I'm just as surprised as you guys about it being delisted. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks very cool. I wish I got a chance to play it. I wonder if there's still some other platforms where it may be floating on. Awesome. Well, any last words on Big Boy Boxing before we move on to our next game?
I'm a big kid now.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see more. I want to see more bosses.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's gonna be the make or break. Not the make or break. The game's already good, but I think what would really exceptionally put this over the edge is the bosses, the personality and the characterization of these bosses.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Hey, Fangirl Review. Shout out to Fangirl Review, also a member of the Athena Alliance with our very own Legend of the Star here. Thanks so much for dropping by. We appreciate you so much. Let's go to our fourth game of the night. Let's see. Hey, thanks for following, Farmer3. Really appreciate it. I think everybody has noticed the last couple weeks I redid everything in American Girl doll Courtney 1986 theme.
Yeah,
so
last week. I saw that was
So for everybody in the audience, I love I love when I see
You
the
didn't think
follow.
I noticed, but I noticed.
I love it.
Tell me how you noticed that you didn't notice my noticing.
I know. I noticed that I didn't.
So the next game we are going to discuss here is called Locus USA. And we got some footage there from the folks at Alpha Beta Gamer there. And let me read a description here before we jump onto this one, because this one I thought it was very interesting and different. I'm really excited to talk about this one. So Locus USA, uncover the dark secrets of the small American town of Locust by breaking blocks and hitting switches. Gameplay mechanics inspired by Arkanoid clones and various weird pinball machines, and aesthetics inspired by Stranger Things, World of Horror, Tron, etc. It also includes optional random battles and random events, which can make or break a run. I had a lot of fun with this one, guys. This was a really cool experience.
I fucking love this game.
Yeah.
I loved it even though I was horrible at it.
Let's talk about it.
I loved it. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't, so, all right, first one, I'll give out the negative a little bit. I could not get, it said it had controller support. I couldn't get the controller support to work, but I just ended up using X-Patter anyway, so, it's whatever. But what I would say is that essentially this game is, think of Pong. It is the old school Pong with attributes of pinballism, meaning that if you hurt, you get certain upgrades when you hit certain things. And then get this, just that and stuff. All right, it's pinball and it's Pong, but there's a story to it. It's a very interesting story to it, and I wish that there's so many mechanics and so many things in this game that I really enjoyed that it was I definitely wish to see it again. Like I said, it's literally two classic games put together. Pinball mechanisms as well as Pong, and then you had a very short one-liner story. All the stories were, every single level had a objective to it.
Yeah,
and it was a one-liner objective, and it was fun, and all the levels were different. And one of the freaking levels had the best video game music I've heard in a long ass time.
Was that
it was the
one?
mainframe.
Yes,
the mainframe
cool.
level.
Oh,
man, that song was so fucking lit. It was so amazing, dude. I love that. At first, when I played it the first time, and I actually got distracted because I was head bobbing to this music, and then eventually I ended up coming back and playing it again.
I totally feel you on that, and it sounds like Derivative and Nate were really excited too. So we haven't heard from Legend yet, so we're gonna play that game that we do when we don't hear from somebody. Let's guess whether Legend would like this or not, based on what we know about Legend.
Yes, whether she liked it or not.
Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. How many people think Legend liked this?
I think she liked it.
She liked it.
She liked it. Yeah.
Derivative and Nate are thinking hard here.
Yeah, Derivative and Nate, you guys got a thumb up or thumb down?
You're gonna say
I'm
no?
I'm gonna give a thumb down.
Okay, we got 2 up,
For
2
real?
down.
Okay, Legend.
Legend.
did not like
Oh!
it. I know. I wanted to like it, but like the reason that I didn't really like it is that like I know you guys, this week was crazy. I didn't really have a chance to like sit down to play it. Like I get it. Like when you were saying, okay, the Pong thing. Now, okay. The storyline was great. The graphics were the storyline was very. I was like, oh, okay. Like usually games like this, there isn't a story at all. It's just the game.
Sure.
What about the 90s dance music? The 90s dance music was dope.
Okay, I have to. Yeah, so I liked the story that it was trying to portray. I liked the music was popping. I would have to say, I totally agree with you. Soundtrack, they should like have its own separate download, put on Spotify. Like they could make like that was good. I liked it. I don't know, guys. I just don't like gameplay like this. I just don't like.
It was arcade, so 100%
so
arcade style. Yeah. It was the arcade style gameplay for sure. Anybody who has any questions, it's arcade style. One mechanic that one other criticism that I would have with it is that like I just kept playing that one same level over and over again. And I kept dying because I really liked the music. If you die within the game and you keep the game open, it actually resorts you back to the same location that you were at. So it's like no harm done. I just got to play the same location. If you physically push the X button in the window and close out of the game, you got to start all over again back at the first school in the zombie.
Oh man!
Now, something that I would say is that Deuce, if you're on the whole old school genre thing, what you do is make like a code, make codes for each level or something, and then now I got to input that code to get back to that area.
Yeah.
Because the idea that I got to oops, I accidentally pushed the X button and now I got to restart, all these locations again. By the way, really cool thing about that too, the locations were on a map that reminded me of Earthbound.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
You're right though. Like if you were looking at this as an arcade, this is totally like you would sit at an arcade and play it. Like that's the perspective of it too, which I thought was really good. Again, for me personally, it was too much and just too busy. Like I couldn't.
The hardest bit with this game was the nudge.
Just knowing exactly the trajectory.
I never used it. What was it
trash when it comes to Breakout to begin with.
Breakout.
And even with that, you don't have a nudge. You have to just kind of plan like where you hit it on the paddle to get.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
The angle. Yeah.
Adding that nudge, it's like I had no concept of like where the nudge was actually going to bring you.
I used the nudge.
I actually never used that mechanic at all.
So the nudge is kind of like, in pinball games, sometimes there's like that kind of bump the table sort of like mechanic. And so what this did is like, how in this game there was like certain areas. So for folks who are watching right now, the video, you can see that there's some cases where, there's like a story to this. So like the kids need to like break into this building or something like that. So you have to, the ball represents the kids.
Up to the mainframe.
Yeah, and then so in this case you have to get them into the door or to dodge people or to break through people. And so in this game you have to be somewhat precise in certain cases about getting into certain areas. So the nudge kind of acted as a way to where if you needed it to like get into an area and you didn't think the trajectory was quite there, you can hit nudge to like hopefully get the kids the ball in that direction. I actually thought it was a cool mechanic. I probably didn't use it till about like a fourth or halfway through the game, but I did find that it was
what about the power-ups? Let's talk about the power-ups. You can if you get certain power-ups, you get extra lives or extra hearts, and then you can make your paddle longer. Man, can you remember back in Atari days, you're like, damn, if I could only make that paddle longer.
Yeah.
And then it just had different that's the pinball aspect of it. Like you had different power-ups for no reason.
Yeah. It seemed like those because there was like that random element, like you'd be on the level for a certain amount of time and then it would do like the spin thing and decide like one of these random consequences or benefits.
So that was random then?
It was the meter that filled up and it was random.
Okay, cool.
It seemed a little bit too frequent for my taste.
I would agree with that.
Like I'm like trying to go to a part. It's like I've cleared everything out and I'm trying to get into like this small little spot that's like a grate to like get to the next section. And I'm like just bouncing around because I'm terrible at this. And it would just be, every like third bounce around, I would get another quirk or something like that. And it just got annoying at that point because it was just too frequent.
I think for me, it's just because now that I know it's random, it makes perfect sense. But like, I just didn't know what the hell was triggering it. So like, I was sitting there like getting all these upgrades. And then that's another thing. You can get upgrades, but you can actually get degrades. I don't know what the hell you would call those.
Yeah.
But they can make your paddle smaller. They can lose you hearts and stuff like that. Like, again, that's why I say it's the pinball aspect.
Yeah.
Is because depending on certain things you hit, I thought it was based off of certain things.
And collecting letters,
you get certain upgrades and degrades. Huh?
Yeah, and you collected like the letters for the word locust, just like in pinball. You know, like hitting certain.
Yeah, So I did that a few times. Wasn't exactly sure like what it actually did. Like at first, I was like, oh shit, I gotta get these letters. But then I honestly don't know what the letters did.
I think it was a score thing more than anything else. I think it was score.
It was the score thing.
Yeah, let me check the page and see if it says anything.
Yeah, Nate.
In the upper right hand corner, you have a $sign. Is that how much damage you're doing to property? Like for instance, is that what that
I thought
is?
that was your score.
I think it was score.
Yeah, that was your score, and then the question mark box is the one that fills up to give you some sort of random effect. Nate,
yeah, it just says letters for a bonus.
Gotcha.
So I assume it's points.
Yeah, Nate, how'd you feel about this one?
I wanted to. I got screwed by the RNG on this game, but I really enjoyed it. I love the mashup quality of the different mechanics. I love a good arcade game. And I love Breakout, so this was especially fun for me to play. But good lord, I had that half-size paddle for the entire game. The entire game, I had that half-size paddle, and it made it so much harder.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it does.
I feel like I got the opposite of that. I'm a little hesitant to brag because Legend's going to find a way to remind me about it.
The game master.
I think, guys, I want to say I beat this whole game with.
Shit, he beat it.
Yeah, I beat it. I think I only lost. I might have only lost like. I don't think I ever gone down more than one heart. The whole thing. So
are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, I think I almost wish I streamed it because this one, like, for whatever
reason. Did you have it on easy mode or regular? Because apparently in the option. Yeah, so that's another thing thing about the game that also. Is that you go into options, there's a ton of options that you can click. You can like make it VCR mode, you can make it easy mode. There's all these like visual type of options that you can and I was like, man, they put a lot of thought into this. You know, like that was pretty cool.
I played it on the default mode.
Whatever. Yeah, especially if you're dealing with that kind of retro 80s
I was
style.
Default too.
Having those options to even turn off things like screen shake and lights.
Sure.
Really good for those who have photosensitivity. So
yeah,
I commend them for that.
Yeah. I did. With that said, I definitely like personally really liked the VCR effect. I thought that was really cool. I will agree with you guys that one of the issues I had about the random like effect that you would get is that it popped up on the screen, and which I don't mind that part necessarily, but it blocked kind of the visibility of the screen. So when it gave you a random effect and it pauses the game temporarily, and then when it unpauses, it's a little jarring to know, okay, which direction was the ball bouncing toward? You know what I mean? Keeping up with like the physics of it all. But this to me feels like, man, I swear, for all of those watching that like Stranger Things and like those stories, I don't even know how to describe it, like that kind of Spielbergian.
So we won't go to, because he actually beat the game, so we won't go. I didn't beat the game, so I can tell you the story. So the idea is that there's a haunted town that they say that there's four. I mean, you see that there's four characters. But I never got the impression that there was four separate or different characters. Essentially going into a town and you're investigating some weird disappearances at a high school. There seems to be a lot of, at one point, one of the levels you have to break into the high school. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about this Breakout game is that they all have objectives. So the first objective was you had to break the vent and you had to go through the vent in order to get into the high school. And then there was security cameras, which now that and then you go to the high school. Eventually you get to the cafeteria, see that there's a bunch of human meat inside one of the pots, and then from there you find a Resident Evil style, that there's this corporation that left their business card, because of course when you do evil shit you always want to like leave your business card next to the evil shit. So you take that card and you go to the actual company and you actually break into the company, And it's really cool. One of the things that he said by Stranger Things that was really interesting is that one of the dialogue talks about it. You wonder if this 512 KB computer has network access.
Yeah, I love that part.
And I was like, man, that's pretty funny. And then you get to the mainframe. There are boss battles in this, so it's Breakout. It's 100% Breakout. It has pinball mechanics, but it has a storyline, like 1 sentence, 2 sentence storyline to it, and you actually have physical objectives. Like, I'm not just breaking out just to break out. I'm breaking out to like beat this boss. I'm breaking out to break into this high school. So there's actually small objectives, which probably really had nothing to do with the gameplay. But just that 1 sentence and how each level was themed differently, I was like, man, this is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, that made it for me. Honestly, the fact that there was like an objective, like that's something I feel like I don't.
It was just 1 sentence too.
Well, but even outside of that, like that tells you, like it says escape the cultists or whatever. Like intuitively, you kind of know what to do just by visually seeing. Okay, these are all these cultists. I got to get around them, that sort of thing. But like the gameplay. As strange as it is, right? The whole idea of Arkanoid breakout, pinball, like mechanics here, like all of that actually like fits really well to where it's like, yeah, I need to break into this school, so I'm bouncing around, or I need to escape these.
Makes perfect sense.
It feels like so solid. I absolutely love this. I want to answer one question here for Dart Sabalba, friend of the show. Hey, thanks so much for being here. He wrote that hold effect is typical to pinball machines too. I want to clarify one thing about that hold effect, that whole like bonus thing, is it's not exactly the same hold effect that you see on pinball machines. So I think I know what you're talking about, Darcible, but sometimes like when you hit your ball into like a place where it like traps it for just a moment, you don't lose the ball, but it sits there and it kind of shows you a random effect, and then the ball will shoot out. In this case, the random effect that you get in this game is not because of something you actively did in the game, but just over time your meter will fill up, right? If I'm not mistaken. I hope I got that right. And so in that case, because the hold effect can happen while the ball is bouncing, like during the course of, like let's say the ball is bouncing here and then it stops, freezes, your mind starts thinking, oh, what the effect is going to be. It shows you the effect, and then you're like, oh, what direction was the ball moving? That momentary like dissonance is the only thing I would say that got
even having like a little tick that would show you like the direction it was going, I think would have really helped.
That's a good point. Like a little shadow almost, or something kind of like that,
or like a tiny arrow, or
something
like that. Yeah,
that's a good point.
And that's what I really liked about this game. It's as much as you really wanted to be, because at the end of the day, it's just Breakout, right? It's just Breakout. That's all it is. But it had a story to it. It had different upgrades. It's as much as you really wanted it to be. Like, you could have just completely ignored the story and just really played Breakout the whole entire time. But definitely it's as much as you wanted it to be, and that's why I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
They did an incredible job with the aesthetic. Yes. I just love the look of it. Not just the fact that it has a story, or that we're talking about story about a Breakout game. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Just that VHS effect. I think it works really well. It works for me really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Stranger Things type of vibe going. Yeah, it actually did have a Stranger Thing type of Earthbound Stranger Thing type of vibe to it.
And I should say that the developer is Harley Wilson, who, interestingly enough, his day job is actually working, it seems, at Ubisoft. So a lot of the titles...
Yeah, it was like I looked up, I think it was like artist, some kind of artist at Ubisoft.
Yeah, so titles like Division 2 and many others to look through. So it's really cool that in his spare time is making these games that are available on itch for free / pay what you want. I am going to, I don't know if did I drop the link for this one in the chat? Let me make sure, just in case. If I didn't, I'm going to drop this.
By the way, I'll say this too. This made me 30 minutes late for work. So, like, I played it this morning.
I love that.
That shit really got me popping when the Mainframe song came on. It was like, damn, this is good. But yeah, it ultimately made me 30 minutes late for work playing this game. I really enjoyed it. This is like one of the games that I really enjoyed and I'll come back to.
Yeah, I definitely would like to play it again, and this is one of mine. You guys know I'm building that kind of list for games to put in custom like indie arcade cabinets, and this one's definitely on.
This would definitely be it.
Yeah,
100%. This is the game
tagged on there for sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about Locus USA? Nate, you want to jump in here?
No. I was just saying that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Play this on an arcade cabinet. Good Lord, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it would be
Yeah, it
really
really would
cool.
be.
Really, really cool. Sweet. Well, that was Locus USA. I dropped the link in the chat right there. It is available now. All of these, we should say, are available on all the games outside of the mobile games that Nate made are available on itch.io, which I think
but
some
even
of
the mobile is Android iOS. So if
Yeah.
and apparently he played it on his iPad, so that's really awesome too.
Yeah. I was tempted. I know some of you guys saw the meme I made about my itch obsession.
yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to put that on.
Whoa,
or not.
talk about inappropriate.
I like it. I'm memeing it up here. Sweet. Well, let's go over to hey Tempest. Shout out to Tempest636 who was on the show last week. He's saying itch. So tempting. Yeah, I love the name there. It works out perfectly. All right. Let's go to our final game. Legend, did you want to jump in with anything?
No, I just can't believe I didn't get the chance
know.
to play this.
It's
I feel
okay.
so like the art style is so beautiful, and I wanted to play.
It's
so
okay. Don't worry. Legend is feeling a little down about this because
I'm so upset.
Legend actually messaged
The comic
me about,
book was really cool too.
Yeah, and shout out to Georgina for finding about that. We're about to jump into that discussion. So now we're talking about the space in between. Legend is upset because she recommended this game and unfortunately didn't have a chance to play it.
I didn't, but it's so beautiful. Like it's just the art style is it's just so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
It is.
Let me get to a description on the space in between. And still, shout out to Legend for discovering this game and sharing it with us. And also Mike on Twitch saying, I looked up Beast Boxing Turbo. A few sites actually have it. Okay, cool. Captain V is also saying, yep, I checked out. Okay, so it's available in some places. Let's definitely be on the lookout for that. All right, so this is the space in between. I will
Not the Dave Matthews song.
I forgot about that. You're right. Let me read the description here for you all, and we'll jump on it. Okay, so what if you could create your own constellations? The Space in Between is an emotional dating sim about Asian American identity, mental health, and stargazing. Meet June, a spunky Chinese American college student trying to make sense of her complicated relationship with her immigrant mother. This is the love story between her and Miles, a quiet artist who is recovering after a harsh past with mental illness. Set on a scenic stargazing trip, create your stories among the stars as you hear powerful narratives from the hidden ways Asian parents say I love you to the social isolation of depression. Our game is a vignette into modern relationships, a story that will leave you calling your close ones to tell them you love them. Look up, let go, and take a chance on the night sky. You know,
well, one thing I can definitely say is I enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
What you just read provided a shitload of context. Like, I had no idea that it had anything to do with Asian Americans too much. Like I didn't get that vibe.
Well, at some point, I'm sure you did. Oh, I guess it depends on the choices you make in the game, because at some point, it comes up in there. I really, not only do we'll almost have to talk about this again because Angelic Layla, who's normally on the show, is also has Asian, is of Asian descent as well. So, and Legend Filipino descent as well. So, like, I feel like you two, you guys are also the lovers of visual novels. So it's
like dating is like culturally based. Like if you're not married by, like I can live with my mom like forever. You know, my kids can live here forever. Like that's just how our culture. But when it comes to like dating and marriage, it's just, you know, if you're not married by a certain time, or if you're Filipino, if you're not a nurse, you know what I mean, by a certain time.
You're not a nurse, damn.
It can be troublesome because you're constantly reminded, like, how come you're not married? Where, you know, it can be really overwhelming. And I really wanted to see I really wanted to see the perspective. Like, I wanted to know more about like his situation because, again, getting into a relationship with anyone who does have mental health issues or develops mental health issues can be a challenge in and of itself. You know, so having to be able to build sort of that trust with that person, and to, you know, be able to be like, look, like, I'm having a bad day, my mental health is not there, like, it's not, you know, and to have that communication. And I think that's what this game, from the description, is what I think is sort of trying to balance the two, or explain the two, I guess. And I just, dang it, I wanted to play it.
Well, when you do get to it, we'll definitely have to discuss it again with you in it. And feel free to ask us questions as we're discussing it here. Hey, shout out King of the Nerds. Always love having you in the chat. Appreciate you being here. So yeah, fellas, what did you all think about the game? What was your experience like? Or can anyone actually start? Tony, you usually are like our person who's really good at recapping the game. Can you give us can you give us an idea of what the gameplay is like?
I really like, so essentially, let me get back my notes. So essentially the gameplay is, it starts off, one thing that I would say is that play it a little bit into it. It starts off as a text only, just reading and making choices. But what you find out is maybe a few minutes in is that it actually does develop into the characters. You end up seeing them. They are hand-drawn pictures. And essentially the idea, it's, to me, I don't want to say it's a dating simulator, but it does sort of seem as if, like, there's questions and decisions that you could ask, or answers that you could be doing. And ultimately the thing is that you're going on a couple's trip, or just a trip, and you guys are the only couple, to look at stargazing. And you actually go to a certain location, you stargaze. The game mechanic, like I said before, is like, hey, choices and the dialogue. But another bigger game mechanic is that in the stargazing is that you're actually physically drawing the shapes in the stars. Yeah. So some of the shapes that they drew in the stars, I got, and I was like, man, that totally makes sense. I could definitely see that. And then some of the stuff, I'm like, man, let me close one eye and look at it. Like, I'm not sure how that looks. I'm not sure how that looks like what you say it looks like, but overall, it was a very interesting game. It's about dating, and their date is to go stargazing. So that's as much as I got, and that's why I said, like, I didn't really see too much about the whole Asian American thing going on.
And that could have been based on the choices you made.
Yeah, so the Asian American thing, based on like what is interpreted as those specific constellations. Mm-hmm. The girl will go into, her troubles with her mother, who. When you're playing it, you get kind of. Sorry, I'm going to be spoiling this game.
No, please. We should always say to everybody, we're spoiler heavy. It's like a book club, so we're going to go spoiler.
You kind of get the impression early on that maybe the mother has died, but really the case is that their relationship is strained. There was some argument that they had a while back, and they just hadn't reconciled yet, and there's not any idea that they will reconcile. But they kind of go into the Asian, culture in the sense of things like being teased about what they had brought for school lunch, or the fact that there was something along the lines where, and forgive me if I'm getting the comic book mixed with the game, because they are related. It is a prequel thing where she is doing kind of makeup with a group of her friends who are not Asian. And they're working on that, and they're contemplating how beautiful it looks like on these other girls. Well, the facial structure of this other girl, she comments like things like this shape of like the eye structure and things like that they end up making her look like a raccoon, because they just are not familiar with the kind of makeup work that needs to be done on these various ethnicities. And it's kind of trying to fit in where you are the outlier, you are different than everyone around you, and she really struggles with that. She seems to really lighten up when talking about things regarding her culture, but just around him, but she's constantly saying like how she feels alienated over it, and he's dealing with he's had major depressive episodes. He ended up taking an entire semester off of school, and basically found that he has lost any kind of friendship that he thought he had, because honestly, and he had been told this by people, that they found it just hard to be around him because he was just such a bummer. Which I can relate to. I've had those moments myself. So
didn't someone say that first kiss was at 17 or something? Did I hear that too?
That might have been.
I mean, not that's a highlight of the game. That was just something that.
Well, that's what's unique about this, Tony. That brings up a good point, though, that each of our experiences is definitely going to be different just because of the choices. We should say that it is similar to other visual novels. For the most part, I would say the genre isn't necessarily super heavy on. They tend to be fairly linear. There are branching paths, so to speak, but they tend to be fairly linear. So you're usually presented with two choices at any given time. So, Tony, what you might have experienced and maybe why you didn't hear some of the things as far as the dynamics of growing up in an Asian household and being Asian in this case, that might have not played as large of a role in your playthrough necessarily. Nate, how do you feel about Potions and Pixels, with Indie Game Club, like all this stuff? We tried to always like feature visual novels as much as possible because we try to spice things up with different genres, as Legend says, try to do a variety of different things. What's your experience like with visual novels? Is this something you had any preconceived notions going into? What was your experience?
Very little experience. This is actually the first game I played that's been described as a dating sim. I'd never played one before.
Gotcha.
And it's funny, while I was playing it, at first I thought, I might be too old for this game. I'm not sure, but I might be too old. But as it went along, I started thinking, no, this feels like I'm really on a date. Yeah. I've been on this date before at this stage.
Yeah,
that's really, really something that they could do, that they could pull that out. I really love how they put you in the mindset of each of the characters. You really you understand their perspective in a way that I did not expect. The writing in it is so phenomenal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, you're right about that. Let's talk about that. Like that's I think a lot of visual novel games kind of live or die on their writing style. And as Tony mentioned, Absolutely. Like the first part of the game was like straight up text. And to me, that part, I guess, was a little jarring based on like reading about the game, like seeing the visuals. I almost wondered, I honestly had a moment where I wondered if I was playing the right game at first, because I was like, I'm seeing all these constellations, all this, but I'm strictly seeing text at the beginning. And I'm curious, I only give this one playthrough. I'd like to play through again, but I'm curious, like, how much the decisions at the beginning of the game affect anything once you actually get to the stargazing date. But if you are playing this game, which I encourage everybody to check out, I dropped the link in the chat. The first part is only just maybe a few minutes, and it's just strictly text-based. But then you actually get to the stargazing. As you can see in the video, you get these really beautiful pictures. And as Nate and everyone's been saying, like, you, based on the strong writing, you feel like you're on a date, or you're kind of like a gadfly. You're like looking into this date right there, and that then really surprised me how much I was like getting into it.
That's cool. That's good. I'm excited for that. Yeah, but the art, like I said, the art is what had me, because lately on my newsfeed especially, I've noticed that a lot of graphic artists are starting to lean more towards this style, more of like a portrait type of tablet. You can tell this was drawn on like either a tablet or
hand drawn or hand painted.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I love that, because it makes it more, I think, of a personal experience. You know what I mean? Because you're people taking the time to actually do the art for the game instead of just, especially when it comes to a visual novel.
Yeah.
I think all the things sort of wrap into everything. And I think that's why, again, and I always say this all the time, people always clump, these genres in these, visual novels are all this, or visual novels are all that, and people sleep on it. People sleep on visual novels. They're so different. I don't know if I would do this. And I understand that you have to do the tags maybe for specific purposes, just to get like the the analytics, but at dating sim,
I don't know if I'd really. Dating sim feels like a little bit of a.
Like, it doesn't seem like it's more of a dating sim. It's
more of just it's in a very, very loose sense in the fact that you are simulating one of their dates.
Yeah, simulating a date.
I think one of the biggest things is that, like, depending on the choices you made. So for me, like, literally the only thing that what this game was about was them going on a date, them looking at constellations, them getting to know each other. I missed the whole Asian, message that was in it, Asian American message, and because of the choices I made. So to me, it literally was just them going on a date.
Yeah, and to that point, to what Derivative just said there, like, yeah, it's, I guess, a dating sim to the extent that it's simulating a single date. So I think all of us, I guess, when we think of like dating, we think of it like in the plural sense, like kind of going on
like
dates.
like dating sim.
Yeah.
Fall in love with you to like make him human again, like that kind of thing, where you have to like really be involved in the experience of it. Okay, so this is more of like a perspective on a
specific date, which I actually prefer, because I think that's like, we played other games like speed dating for Ghost. We've played other kind of games that have like dating mechanics, and those certainly have I enjoyed those as well. But in this case, I actually thought it was pretty cool to go on one specific date, like experience all the aspects of it. Let's dig into that writing a bit. So we were saying how strong the writing is, and Derivative did a really great job laying down the kind of the core conversational pieces, the Asian American identity, Miles dealing with depression and friendship, the issues with June kind of talking about, it seemed like there was that whole feeling where she was communicating like, how to put it, like, not know, I think a lot of people who fall in love kind of don't know, can't describe it until they've done it, you know what I mean, until they fall in love, and she's like, I didn't know it was going to be this great, I never necessarily expected that sort of thing. I thought the game captured that really really strongly,
or even feeling that they're worthy of love.
Yes,
really, like, especially when it came to him, he felt like he was just, for lack of a better term, he felt like he was a piece of shit. That like he was unworthy of people's attention, and she kind of came around and really opened him up with that, and she, feeling, like she didn't belong, that, definitely with her culture, it was definitely a situation of, you married into your own ethnicity, or you dated into your own ethnicity. So the fact that he was not Asian was kind of a scary thing as well.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, it seemed like it handled everything, at least my playthrough. It seemed like it handled these like sensitive topics really well. Like, on the depression side as well, like all of these things, it really didn't. I think generationally, a lot of these things kind of have been exploited in the past for like dramatic effect. And
yes.
I didn't.
So one thing that I had read was because there was a blog that they had, like a development diary they did as they were doing this.
Yeah.
That they didn't even realize that like having a character that's openly talking about their own depression was seen as kind of this strange thing to do. So there was just a naturalness to that conversation in dealing with this character's depression that they didn't even realize that people were like, this is actually kind of heavy to do. So having that kind of candidness was, I think, really went to the story's benefit.
Derivative, correct me. I know you're always great about like going in depth, looking into the background. Of course, you saw the comic book, and which I'd love for you to go into as well. I did a really quick cursory glance. I think that developers are on the younger side, right? Like, I'm trying to remember. I'm just.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
Okay, and if that's the case, I almost think that there's like a generational component where I definitely
think.
There was talk of being into the band Fleet Foxes, which which generally anyone under the age of 30 would probably not, or over the age of 30 would probably not be as familiar with Fleet Foxes.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There were a few references there to real world bands. But yeah, I bring that up because I think just we try to kind of expand these kind of conversations in a way to touch on these types of issues, and I think in this case, generationally, I think it's pretty safe to say, or I hope it's safe to say, I think the younger generations, the millennials, the Zoomers, or whatever we want to call these next generations coming up, seem a lot more comfortable to talk about mental health than any other group.
Absolutely. I would have to absolutely say that a lot of the games that do focus specifically on social issues have been the youngins, have been the young folks.
I think so.
I think it's just...
I would think the biggest, because I hear a lot of it too, as far as, and I'm definitely for having the conversation in the forefront. My biggest thing is that as long as it's not self-diagnosed or self-medicated, then that's fine. Because what I see, especially just a lot in my community is that people self-medicate, or they self-diagnose, and then they actually never seek help for it. And so it just, and that's, I mean, it sounds bad, but it almost becomes like a popular culture thing. Like, yo, I'm depressed. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not cool. We should get you some help.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Information about that. And I don't think there's certain platforms that just like TikTok, you know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it, I'm gonna call it out, but like, a lot of teenagers are self-diagnosing because they like say that they have something, and then they hear that this other person has it. Well, this is why that I have it. Da 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 da. And I actually had a conversation with my teenager the other night where she was explaining something to me, and I'm like, that's not how that works. Like, you don't just like catch it. You know what I mean?
Catch depression.
Yeah, you don't just catch it. It's something that you may be able to recognize it more so because of the information that you found, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that you just got. Like, it could just be that you're like, you're more cognizant of it. It's maybe something that's developed over time, but it's not something that you just don't. Oh, I have depression.
It's also the self-medicate. So we gave the self-diagnose, but the other portion is self-medicating. You know what I mean? The idea is that a lot of people turn to drugs sometimes to sort of get over those, or they just, they take it, they accept it, and they don't seek any help. You should always, if I hate to give this disclaimer because I'm pretty sure this was not what the type of show is.
No,
if you do
we
suffer
love
from
that.
depression if you do suffer from depression or any type of mental issues, best to see a professional, and definitely see what you can do to better yourself and to make sure you're not in those particular predicaments. Do not stay there. It's a moment. It's a feeling. It's a segment in time. It's not forever, but it's also on you to have that ownership to want to get, to want to get better or to defer from those type of thoughts.
And you're never too old to do so. I've been starting to look into a therapist myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's actually very common.
So
yeah, this reminds me of a post that Athena Alliance co-founder Emmy actually posted today in Facebook. She has an image from somebody who wrote this on Twitter saying, "How are people out here with no therapy, not taking any prescribed or illicit drugs, just raw dogging reality?" And
damn,
it's kind of funny.
Who's the Emmys? That's a really damn good analysis.
Yeah, I mean, she grabbed it from Jabuki. At Jabuki is the name, but I feel you on there. I agree, Tony. I feel like I agree with 99% of what you said there. I guess I will say a couple things. Also, is that I think part of it may be like even accepting in Miles' case. I don't necessarily know. It's hard to speak for another character. I guess that's one of the challenges about mental health stuff. Speaking about it as real world people, speaking about it in fictional characters. But I think for many folks, it's. I feel you. I think I assume when you were talking about like momentary time, it's kind of like maybe when it's at its darkest, so to speak. But I think one of the things we're seeing about all this stuff is it could be this could be something that people live with their entire lives. And I will say one plug. This is, and again, I won't say this on behalf of Potions and Pixels. I'm taking my executive director hat off here. But I think one of the reasons a lot of people like go towards some sorts of illicit drugs is because of. A lot of the modern stuff isn't working. I've recently, I think I mentioned on the show before, past few weeks, but I've been like looking into some communities have been legalizing mushrooms, psilocybin.
Here's a question. Here's a question or a debate that happens that I see too, especially in the minority community. Which one comes first? Is it that the mental health issues drives you to go to substance abuse or to drugs? Or is it that the continuous use of drugs or substance abuse drives you to have mental health issues? So which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
There is no coming first. I think it's just sort of everyone has an individuality, but to be able to have mental health issues and to be upfront about it, especially when you're starting a relationship like with this game seems like it's trying to convey, if you have that, then reaching out to someone is at least the first step, and having like that common ground, because a lot of people do you deal with that? And obviously seek help from a professional.
Sure.
But sometimes just having someone who've experienced sort of the same emotions that you have, even if it's a different situation, can really sort of bond you to that person, and it encourages you to want to be able to seek sort of like that refuge.
Yeah, and I want to be clear that when I'm talking about like illicit drugs, I think many drugs are not pathways out of depression. There's many drugs that will continue to put you in those, but I guess what I'm saying is there's so much areas that we haven't explored yet, right? And I think that's kind of one of the larger issues.
Before medicine was even modernized, how the Indians, the Native Americans, who they would use certain herbs to heal their wounds. So I think a lot of research has to be made, but like you said, there have been new scientific discoveries stating that there are certain things like in mushrooms or CBD is really
frontier.
That you have to be really careful about that as well. There's just a lot of options, I think, that people are now looking into more so than just having so many chemicals in their body, which is a good, because how do people survive that long if they didn't do something? They didn't have bonding agents.
And I'm personally glad to see communities like Oregon legalize psilocybin and medical mushroom usage for medical purposes, being decriminalized in Colorado. These are the type of things we need to discuss, because then we remove the taboo from them. We're almost at that point where we've removed it from marijuana, but for the longest, if you talked about these things, it's like, oh, pothead this, pothead that sort of thing.
Yeah, even mental health was a taboo. I mean, you think about we had these literal insane asylums, and people were doing like drilling people into heads and things like that to try to relieve things like depression and now we're starting to look at it and seeing how common these things are and things along those lines that over time by again, when you're legalizing these certain drugs, it gives it the opportunity to start then actually researching their benefits and not necessarily being anecdotal like they are now.
I agree.
Perfect.
And having video games like this sort of bridge the gap to discussions like these.
Absolutely.
And a lot of social change when people don't realize it's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. How cool is it that we have these topics in games that we didn't have before? I mean, when we were younger, I'm trying to think of just like looking back. Do you guys remember when? Of course, games dealt with death, and a lot of times the early games that we grew up with, we kind of like visually or we filled in the blanks, so to speak, with all sorts of other aspects to it.
I'm glad we're having these conversations now, because I think the most controversial subjects we saw, or at least I saw growing up, was on Moesha was about like bullying or something, or it was such a stuff that we see is they're like, oh yeah, bullying, cyberbullying.
Yeah, the ham-fisted very special episode.
Yeah, a very special blossom. Yeah.
Or but we used to see that. It was bullying. It was it was a taboo subject was drugs. But it was all these PSA.
Remember, deep in the early '90s, there was a lot of the eating disorders. They were focusing a lot on that too.
Safe sex, all that stuff for sure.
Saved by the Bell. Jessica got all hopped up on speed.
The caffeine pills, right? The caffeine pills.
Yeah.
I remember G Fuel. That's what it was. The beta version.
Yeah, that was beta G Fuel right there. We have Mike on Twitch saying, I've had friends come to me with depression. I gave them advice, but also told them to seek out help from a professional. Would be there to help them too. I think that's a great approach. Definitely, in general.
And definitely understanding that, kind of getting that mental understanding, because there's a lot of people who, probably could benefit from things like therapy that don't quite realize that they have a problem.
Sure.
That once you get to the point where you're realizing you do have some kind of problem that needs to be addressed, that's a huge first step.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think generationally,
I think is really just that in and of itself is amazing.
I think just from observing other generations, though, I feel for them, in particular older generations, because I feel like our generation is much more open about these things, and I don't kind of say that as oh, we're cooler than y'all. I almost feel like we were lucky enough to grow up in a case where we feel comfortable with this, and you know, thankfully maybe our parents were the ones that instilled those values because they didn't feel like they could talk about those things, just to put that out there. So I feel like it's just even this conversation right here, I don't really think is a common thing necessarily for your average you know.
No, it's not, because there's even, you know, now streamers there's actually like a therapist that doesn't hold sessions on Twitch, but you know, people are using the Twitch platform to spread the word. There's Tiltify Me now. There's such a, you know, when you go to TwitchCon, there are actual they used to be called Anxiety Gamers. They changed their name to, I forgot what they changed their name to, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But they would actually like walk around with jerseys on that said, you know, so if you needed to like have a timeout, you could just look for them. They had a booth at TwitchCon, you know, you go to. So if you just needed just to have a timeout, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're getting like, you know, flustered. There was a safe space that you could do that, and I think more convention centers should have safe spaces like that. So I mean, that right there to start, you know.
There's an organization called TakeThis.org that always shows up at all the PAXs, and it's been an incredible tool for me personally. Those safe rooms, those quiet rooms to get yourself together. Just having those accessible is an incredible step to me.
Absolutely. You're right about that. And big shout out to King of the Nerds, who said these deep discussions are wonderful. Thank you so much for that, King of the Nerds. We love that sort of feedback, and we're glad we can
Rise Above this. They did change their name to that.
Yeah, and he said that they changed.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too, because people thought they were esports players because they had jerseys and it said Anxiety Gaming on the back, and they were like, "Nah, dude, we're just we're just mental health." Like, you know, so that was like, you know, I think that's smart marketing.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Well, looking back at the way this was, I know we're approaching the end here. Maybe we can spend a few more minutes on this before we. Nate, are you still good for a time? Or I know you got kids.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. I did want to say something about the game.
Please.
When I finished it, I went back to it to start a new game because I wanted to try one thing, and that's saying no to going out on a date with Miles. I had to see what would happen.
Yeah, please tell us.
The game tells you, what are you doing? You're playing a dating sim. The entire point is to go out on a date.
I love that.
So we're not going to let you do that.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's why you missed it.
It broke the fourth wall right there for you. I'm glad you told us that, because that's what I mentioned earlier. I was curious about like how much that really part.
No, I wouldn't. No, I never would have clicked that.
I'm like Nate. I try to break the game like every time we have an opportunity to. So if you could like go against the wishes of the developers, try to do that. I think we all talked about this before when we play these types of games.
Sometimes I'm not always. I like to sort of balance the situation depending on, you know, where I'm at, but. I don't always go do the whole time. Like The World Next Door, which is an interactive visual novel. It's one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah.
But oh shit, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
G Fuel.
It was choices within games.
Yes. So it's nice to have that, because there are instances where she can be mean, you know, and so I'll let her be mean. You know, you can have like that smart ass attitude, and I think it puts more of a makes the game more realistic, you know, because you're not always in a thing. But I love having the options. I think it's better to have multiple options than just straight down the road.
We talked about this last week, actually, and actually every time we talk about visual novels, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like this crew, what we generally do is like the first time we play a lot of visual novels, I think we always talk about the fact that many of us like play like how we would in real life, and then when we replay them, which a lot of these games are meant to be replayable, then we try to be like a total asshole or whatever.
I always had at least different perspectives of it, because it can drastically change. In some games, it can drastically change your story. Drastically change your story, and you're just like, oh, I didn't mean to kill that person, my bad. You know, like,
Were there any other moments in this game that really struck you guys, as far as like I'm the one for me. I'll mention is, and Derivative talked about it briefly. Was I'm the first U.S. born member of my family. All my family is from Poland. And while I think it's definitely coming from like a European culture, it's not exactly. It's I guess a smoother transition into American society. There's definitely like those kind of those feelings about like eating slightly different foods, having different cultures, those sorts of things that I can relate to. Growing up with a lot of my best friends growing up in high school and middle school were all a lot of immigrant kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that part I felt. I felt a connection to that element. Were there other parts that you guys really caught your attention, or different constellations, as Tony was saying, like different shapes? That
Dude, none of that shit was like I didn't like. I'll be honest with you.
The constellations.
I mean, so it helps you draw the picture of the constellation, so you don't have to like guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, a lot of that, I was like, dude, I'm not seeing it.
I liked finding out about gifting stolen fruit. Did anybody else get that?
I got that one.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
You want to share a bit about that, Nate?
Oh, I'm not sure how to extrapolate from there.
Yeah.
It's a segment. No, I'm not sure how to go from there, other than saying it's a cultural thing about gifting stolen fruit, like fruit that you've, I guess, stolen from your neighbor's garden.
I think that was.
Yeah.
And then you would give the fruit to somebody, and I had no idea, like little cultural things like that I'm not aware of. I love finding out about. I love learning those things.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in there that I noticed, but that's the one that stood out for me.
Yeah, or communicating "I love you." I think that was like one of those things where June said her mother.
Was it the apple slices while they're studying was like a representing of saying "I love you" without actually saying "I love you."
Yeah, it was like acts of kindness versus direct communication, kind of like being how June felt her mother interacted with her in that way. We have Mike on Twitch saying, if games have alternate or different endings, I always try to do them all just to see the differences. Yeah, I feel you on that. Did you guys... this one struck me a little different than other visual novels that, like, a lot of the other visual novels we played, you almost played them to try to discover all the endings and, like, all the myriad of possibilities. This one seems to have been played more so for, like, that single kind of memorable experience is kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
I think
there's only one ending, right? Is there only one ending?
I imagine there's probably just the one.
Yeah.
It's really just that date.
Like
I imagine the only reason you would probably play more is to get a little bit more like characterization, really. Because whether or not you choose, what I chose and what Tony chose, he still has depression. She still has issues with her Asian identity. It's just what else you're learning about them through actually bringing that out into the surface.
Derivative, you want to talk about the comic book?
Yeah, so there was it was done through Webtoons. It was I want to say it was 8. So it was either 6 or 8 very short comics. There was only the writer who was involved. So, but you could see the writing was kind of strong there. The art style is completely different because it's definitely a lot more simplistic art style. Probably the writer's own art, if I had to guess. And it's a prequel dealing with the girl, kind of her issues with dating. She's finally going on to this. What was the first one? There was one that she had met this guy at a party or a bar or something like that, and they're basically invites her to go to this the show that he's playing, and she's really excited about it. He kisses her, and she feels amazing about it because she's never really kind of felt this way. She's ready to really open up to this guy, to find out that he has a girlfriend already. So it really made her feel like crap. And there was stuff about, like, there was this guy that she liked, but like he was into one of her friends, and he had made the comment that she was very good looking for an Asian girl, which is subtly, I mean, I don't know if it's subtly, a bit racist in a way to say like.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it goes and it's kind of it's her own kind of before meeting the protagonist, the other guy in this game, her struggles with her dating, and right at the end I think she runs into him and mentions the tickets, which is what the game starts with, was the mentioning of the Fleet Foxes tickets.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the game right after that point.
Yeah, I love that background, and I just was over here grabbing the link that you sent me. It was
It's like
awesome.
11 little mini, like 11 in total.
Yeah,
and it looks like they've got like hard sex to it, so people have been liking it, which is cool.
Well, yeah, and I think part of some of those are like meeting the team and kind of getting.
Yeah, the last few are like announcing the game and here are the members who are part of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all appreciate. We tend to we love the lore aspect of it all.
Yes, yes, I was.
Sweet. Well, I know. Appreciate you all sticking around as long as you have. I know we're past 9, so I'll probably start wrapping it up right here. But I definitely. Yeah, Legend, I'm sad you couldn't play this one yet, but I appreciate you recommending it. I really do. Because honestly, like, this was a good example to where, just to be honest, like, when I started it, I wasn't, like, I wasn't as excited when I saw that text, and I was like, oh man, is this not what I expected it to be based on the pictures, that you had sent me on there? And then I got really into it, and I was just really happy about it, and I'm kind of, I mixed feelings sometimes about some visual novels, and I feel like every time we've played them on this show, I just keep enjoying them more. So I really appreciate you recommending it. For sure.
Very cool, and it was interesting hearing like dude's perspective on it. Like all of you guys played it. So.
Yeah, and looking forward to you playing it. Make sure to message us, and maybe we can talk a bit about it briefly in an upcoming episode. Shout out to everybody in the Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook chat. Really appreciate you so much. Thanks so much also for those who hosted, viewers like King of the Nerds here, Farmer3 for following Fangirl Review for the bits. Tony Tiger, thank you so much for giving us that subscription here. Appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate the love for sure. And yeah, we appreciate, as always, the comments and the discussion you have here. And thank you. Let's clap it up for all of our guests here. We really appreciate you being on the show. As always, it's a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and hit up our outros here, where we just do the same thing we did at the top of the hour, where we again say who we are and where you can find us. Again, Michael Zhitkov, Executive Director of Potions and Pixels. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. If you're not following us, please do so. We hope you enjoy conversations like this, and following and subscribing and liking and all that stuff goes a long way towards spreading that love and sticking with us as we continue to have these types of programs. You can definitely follow us anywhere on social media at Potions and Pixels, and check out our website at potionsandpixels.com. All right, let's toss it over to Derivative. I'm going to drop these links again. Make sure everybody who's watching, show all of our amazing guests some love here, and follow them on Twitch and all social media platforms. So, Derivative, can you let folks know again who you are and where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm Derivative. You can find me at twitch.tv/Derivative. I stream exclusively games that are overlooked and underrepresented, which I consider obscure games. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so if you're watching it right now, it's live. I will be streaming tomorrow with some real deep cut games. So if you like that kind of stuff, you could do a lot worse than my channel.
Hey, it's a great channel. Do you mind maybe letting us know, like a game or two, like that you're going to be playing tomorrow?
I will let people know when I know.
Okay, I love it.
I kind of see them. I sometimes I see it of my pants. Like it's something that came out like minutes ago. Sometimes.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that. Well, as I said, I always love watching your stream and discovering new games as you do, and hearing your recommendations. So everybody, wherever you're watching, let's clap it up for Derivative. Thank you as always. Really appreciate you, my friend. And again, make sure to follow Derivative right there. Speaking of which, the next link you see there is our very own Legend of the Star. Legend, can you let folks know again who you are and this link to follow you at?
Right, so I'm Legend of the Star. I'm one of the goddesses of the Athena Alliance. I exclusively play indies. You can find me at twitch.tv/Legend of the Star. I usually stream maybe 3-4 times during the week. Weekends are like bonus streams. I do always tweet out when I go live, and my Twitter handle is at Legend of the Star.
We always appreciate you and love all the indie games you cover and all the awesome expertise you bring to the table in the conversation. So let's clap it up for Legend of the Star. Thank you so much. Tony Taiga, I dropped your Twitch here, and I said this last week, and I say it every week. You're, I think, one of the nicest gamers out there, and as you always share your friend, your name on all the different platforms and invite people to play with you. I hope people take you up on that, because it's always fun playing with you, having conversations, and let folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate that. The kind words. Tony Tiger 90, really heavily on Xbox Live right now. Just shoot me a friend request. I'll definitely accept it. There's been a few instances where we actually jump in the Potions of Pistol Discord and we do a few Game of Nerds or something like that. So definitely, you can hit me up on Discord. Still Tony Tiger 90. Xbox Tony. Everywhere is Tony Tiger 90. Just hit us up or hit me up. And definitely we can jump on a game or so. And again, I always like to leave it off and say, hey, my name's Tony, and I like to play video games.
Appreciate you, Tony, as always. Let's clap it up for Tony Taiga. We've been having fun with, Nerds has been a good time, for sure. And last but certainly not least is our game developer that joined us this week that I'm super excited about. My friend Nate Besner, can you let folks know again who you are, what games you developed, and where people can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at PunchBunny LLC, on the web at punchbunny.com, on Twitch at PunchBunny. I'm PunchBunny pretty much anywhere. If you want to find me on PlayStation Network or anything like that, or Xbox, it's PunchBunny. I have developed 2 games, Meteoroids and Tangol. Both are available currently on the iOS and Google Play stores.
And make sure to check them out. You can download them right now. They're free. Yeah. You can get the premium, of course, and that'll go to support more game development. If you want to check out these awesome sounding games that Nate was talking about, make sure to
follow him, because he also mentioned another game that he was developing that was really freaking 2 games. I want to say that was really freaking interesting. So definitely be sure to follow him on Twitter. I followed him on Twitter during this call.
Yes, and
I'll make the post about it just for you.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to have you back on again, not only just to discuss games like we're doing now, but also to check out your future projects for sure.
I would love to, anytime.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's clap it up for Nate Besner, Punch Bunny Games. Appreciate you so much. It's really been a pleasure. And I see all the awesome claps from everybody in the audience. Thank you, King of the Nerds, Mike, and Darts to Bowl, but really appreciate you all. Folks, if you are participating in the chat, you might notice some similar names each time we have these conversations. Big shout out to all of the folks that join us each week in the chat. Make sure you're actually following them as well. You know, you can click their names right now. You can check out their Twitch page. King of the Nerds has awesome content. All these folks have awesome content. So make sure that you're actually checking their stuff out too. And if you can't watch it live, I struggle watching anything live, to be honest, but I always try to come in and try to watch the VODs when I can. So make sure to show love to all the wonderful folks keeping up. I
just have to give the award to like the coolest handle I've seen thus far. Mike Beerman Death Machine.
Yeah. I love it.
Just want to make sure I got that right.
I love it. And then the final thing we are going to do, folks, before we leave is we are going to raid a channel, as we always do. And Mike, speak of the devil, is actually saying I'm downloading Punch Bunny mobile games right now. So there you go.
Yeah,
that's perfect. Why don't we go? We are actually going to raid Faulty Code Gamer. Also a goddess with the Athena Alliance. We're going to raid her channel right now. So if everybody jumps in that raid there, and let's show her some love, and we'll sign off as we raid into
Cool.
her channel. Cool.